Hey guys, welcome to another episode of In Your Mind with me, your host, Paul Trudeau-Payne. Today we got to sit down with José Rolón. He's the owner of José Rolón Events in New York City, and honestly, one of my heroes as a gay dad. He is blowing up online now with his videos. He is really bringing some positivity, I think, to the world in a time that I think we all need it. So super fun interview. He's going to go into so many things about childhood, where we are today. I mean, the list goes on and on of the topics we covered, and I cannot wait for you to check it out. So have some fun. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of In Your Mind with me, Paul Trudeau-Payne. Today is a fun day, honestly, for me. I'm so excited to have our guest here. His name is José Rolón, and he is the founder of José Rolón Events in New York City. And I mean, honestly, more importantly for me, he's gay dad inspiration for this quarantine that we're in with his videos. So please, everybody, welcome and thank you so much, Jose, for being here.
Kidding? It's my pleasure. I'm glad we're connecting.
Yeah. So tell me, I don't know how much you've seen of the show before, but I like to start with the same question every time, and I want to know a little bit about Jose as a little boy.
Oof. Well, I was probably this little Puerto Rican queen running around on the project, a Puerto Rican native in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I grew up in the projects. It was a bit rough, and it was really interesting being that I was in as this gay boy surrounded by so much machismo, machismo, and what it is to be a man, and but that's just what it was. But yeah, my dad was, he was a firefighter, so the machismo thing was there until he became a drug dealer. So I mean, I'll tell you what it was. What it was growing up in my neighborhood, I was doing drug runs with my dad, like at like 6, 7 years old. It's so wild, and I cannot believe that I made it out of Worcester, Massachusetts, and that I'm living where I'm living and breathing where I'm breathing, and all that.
When did you make it out?
I made it out when I decided to go to college. It was interesting because my sophomore, I remember I'm still the only one I grew up with that left Worcester and left that neighborhood. And one of the things around that time was in my sophomore year, so my guidance counselor said, because you're Puerto Rican, these colleges are trying to fill their quotas. And so if you maintain a BC average, then you'll be able to get into whatever school you want. And I was like, what? Like, I don't understand. Are you saying that like I can actually get out of here? Like I can leave this city, this Worcester, Massachusetts? She's like, yes. So I did that. I did so well my junior year, because that's the year they look at. And then I went to UMass Amherst. And so I was there for 5 years. And then I moved to New York to initially pursue an acting career. But
wow, right. What did you study then? Was it acting?
No, it was sociology and education. So my intention was to be a sociology teacher, high school teacher. And I did student teach for 1 year, but then I realized as a sociology major, who am I to teach anybody about anything when I haven't experienced anything? So that's when I decided to move to New York.
But I mean, on the flip side, you did experience a lot when you were a child.
Are you kidding me? I've got stories for days. If we had time, I would tell you that.
It's so funny you're talking about this today. Like, even in my head, I thought, what am I going to talk to you? Obviously, it's not often that I have another gay dad on the show, but I spent like 3 or 4 hours last night talking to someone about growing up and being a minority and how this influenced us. And I think obviously this topic is big, especially right now, because of everything that's going on. But I love hearing these stories because everyone has that same thing. Like, you wouldn't believe what life was like me before. And I wouldn't, like, I would never believe that.
Paul, I wasn't, I swear to you, I wasn't even planning this whatsoever for this. But as I think something's coming up for both of us here, which is, for me, my father, and I'm not specific to the Latin culture, the machismo is strong, but, you know, when I was younger, my dad would, you know, I remember my babysitter that I had at the time, my parents walked in and they saw me playing with Barbie dolls. And it was the last time that I saw my babysitter because my parents thought that was completely unacceptable.
Wow.
And I remember like walking from my bedroom to the living room, and my father was like, I went back to the bedroom and my dad was like, come here. And I go, what? And I turn around and he smacks my ass really hard and tells me to walk like a man. I think I was like 7 or 8. Now, what I'm about to show you, this literally was an hour. Like, this is my son in the middle. My daughters decided it would be really funny while I was on another Zoom call with clients, by the way, to be on the background to, you know, have him dress up, you know, as a girl. And, you know, he's very, you know how parents might say, oh, honey, I knew you were like gay since you were 5. Like, I know that my boy is like a 7-year-old straight boy, but I've given him the security to have fun and step outside of his, what is probably considered his comfort zone, maybe, because he gets that playing with these kinds of things with his sisters and it's fun and there's no shame behind it. And so there's such a mass difference between how I grew up and how I was told to be and act to what I am showing to my son, which is to have fun and play and just be silly, and it's okay to throw on a wig.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. Like, I just recently moved to San Diego from Seattle, and I didn't really know San Diego, so I wasn't super familiar with any of the neighborhoods. Obviously, when we got here, we knew, like, we're in Hillcrest, so it is sort of the gay neighborhood of San Diego. And I don't know why, but I was so adamant that we lived here because I just wanted him to be exposed, I guess, in a way to this. Like, you know, we had in Seattle, it's super liberal. It's very liberal there, which is amazing. But we were very much you live outside of the city, right? Like, we have a big home outside of the city.
Sure.
And then, so we never, once you live outside the city also, by the way, for any person out there, you're never going to go back. So you shouldn't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, we never would drive into the city unless we had to. And so he just never experienced any of those things. And like, even this talk last night, which we're talking about now, part of it was like, I remember, okay, cool, I'm out, or I'm going to tell them I'm out, but nothing happens after that. Like, it's not a TV show. Like, there's no party, there's no friends waiting for you. You have to make it all now. You have to start. And so it's hard, and that part's hard. And I think for me, I didn't get to do that. I tried to do it, and it went in a very not good way. And I really wanted him to grow up around it, knowing like it's not just our family, because in Seattle, that wouldn't have happened. We're in the suburb. There's nobody else there. I've been to literally, I think, like one Pride event my entire life for like 10 minutes. You know, so like it wasn't an involvement. And so like, that's why with this coming down here and I just wanted him to be immersed in it and know that it's okay.
That's so great. Paul, every year I host a Father's Day brunch for other gay dads.
Oh, yeah.
And we've done that. This will be our 5th year. The first year it was 30. Now this includes the kids. It's 30. The second year was 60, then 75, and last year we had 100 LGBT families for Father's Day to honor them. And could you, I mean, like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a blessing for us to be living where we live in the time that we live in, that this is even possible and we have the support system.
I think it's like, it's so, I don't know, it's beautiful. Like, I love that we get to talk this. I love that there's even a platform like this where it's okay to talk about this. I'm sure people that are watching this are like, what am I doing? I'm just watching people talk. There's no point. But I'm telling you, like, I don't know. It's so crazy. I'm actually in the midst. Like I had told you, I had a phone call this morning so early at 6 a.m. and then again at 7 and at 9. All trying to put together this virtual event, I guess maybe. I just hosted a summit for entrepreneurs, and then I've seen that HBO show called We Are
No,
Here.
but somebody just told me about that yesterday.
Oh my God. I was like, I'm gonna write that director. It's so beautifully done. And because I just drag queens going to a city or small town, I should say, meeting people, dressing them up in drag. It's just like a funny, it is nothing like that. It's like a hardcore HBO documentary into the life of these small I was just like, there's no episode where you're not gonna get emotional. And that actually, the first day I watched that, the Human Rights Campaign had posted a speech by someone who was a man who talked about his experience. And that's, I like haven't been able to get out of my head. So now I'm like convinced that we have to put on this big virtue and really help people know like what this coming out is. Because that coming out to like where we might be now, that middle part is never talked about. And that's what I want to talk about.
I promise you tonight, I'm gonna watch We Are Here.
I mean,
It's a docu-series, or is it one documentary?
Series. So like it's
I'll
like
watch
an
it tonight.
episode. Yeah. It's so, oh God, it's so good. I love that show. So, okay, off topic. It's about you here today. So you went to New York. You got away
Yeah.
from all of that and to try acting first. And then how did we build this giant events company that you have
Yeah,
now?
it's kind of crazy. You know, I think like a lot of New Yorkers, we have big personalities and we're here to pursue a career, many different sort of mini careers. And so like almost every striving, hungry actor, you fall into the restaurant industry. So I fell into the restaurant industry, you know, waiting tables to hosting to then managing and becoming a general manager in restaurants in Chelsea. And I also knew that I had to get out of the restaurant industry before I turned 30, just because I was drinking, there was plenty of drugs being thrown around, and I wasn't addicted. Everything was always there and so accessible. So I knew for me, I needed to just get out and do my own video editing business where I would take people's old homes out of them, because I lost both my parents many, many years ago. And so I wasn't able to, I had no videos of myself and our families, and I had so many questions. And so I really wanted to create that for other families, you know, that had these dusty, you know, collecting dust in the attic, and create short films out of them. So I did that for 5-6 years. I met my I met my boyfriend, and I sort of got swept off my feet, and we then decided to get married. And I love the process of getting married. And I was also ready to get away from the computer, and also because technology was changing. So basically, the place we got married was considered to be one of the coolest places in the city to get married. And it's a raw space, which means all the best of the best were going through there. So I thought if I worked there for a year, then I would cultivate these great relationships. So I stalked the girls that worked there until they hired me. And they took a chance on me. I ended up working there for 2.5 years. And then I launched my business in 2013 because I did cultivate those great relationships. And it's been phenomenal ever since.
That's amazing. It's amazing. And when did the kids come into play?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, listen, 2013 was a really challenging year for me. 2013 was the year that we decided to get pregnant. And then in March, and so the question was, am I a stay-at-home dad, or do I stay at the foundry where I'm making really good money, but I'm bored and I've sort of peaked? And I realized I could have the best of both worlds, and I could be the dad I want to be and have my own hours. So my son was born in March 2013. And then I had my business I launched my business the same month he was born. And then we decided to have, this is all through surrogacy, by the way. Our surrogate was in Georgia. And then we decided to have more kids. So we got pregnant again in 2013. And then in December, we flew down to find out we were having twins, which was wild because we definitely did not want to have 3 kids. But that's what happened. And then the following week of December 2013, we're still in 2013. While we were 11 weeks pregnant, my husband unexpectedly passed away. He was on a business trip. He passed away of a heart attack in his sleep. So as you can imagine, like this left me with 1 week. I was already mourning the loss of my husband, but I also, then I realized I only had to decide to follow through the pregnancy. And because at 12 weeks, according to the state of Georgia, you're not allowed to make that decision anymore. And for me, it was pretty clear that I was going to abort because I thought, like, who the hell am I to be raise kids on? And then on the 6th day from when Tim passed away, it was the day of his service and his funeral. I made the decision. I realized that my son just lost his father. And I thought, what if something were to happen to me? I didn't want to leave him alone in this world. And so the morning of Tim's funeral service, I made the decision and I announced while giving my husband's eulogy that we were pregnant with twins. Nobody knew we were pregnant. And so you could just imagine sort of the audible gasps that came from, a room full of, it was like 400 people. So all of that happened in 2013. I went from no kids to no husband to 3 kids to a single gay dad 3 by the end of 2013.
Like how? I don't know how you did that. I don't.
Yeah, it looking back, I mean, I think one of the things I can definitely share with you is we, it was hard. It was really hard and devastating and heartbreaking. One of the saving grace is as a father, as a single gay dad, and as nobody is, when you're 2 parents, I say this all the time, when you're 2 parents, nobody ever assumes that you get it. When you're 2 parents, everybody assumes that you have it because you're 2, even though you don't, and it's still a shit show. It's still hard, but nobody ever offers the help. With me at that time, in the middle of the morning, devastated and not wanting to get out of bed, I had a massive support system. And even to this day, I have a much larger support system than most parent households. And then on top of it being a man versus a woman who has motherly instinct, which I believe that exists, I didn't have that. So I use that to my advantage. My family, they're like, he doesn't know how to change a diaper. Let me, we got to help him. I'm like, you're right. I'm like, I took it all in. And so, yeah, it took a while to get through the grieving. And of course, grieving isn't linear. A bitch slaps you when you mourn and grieve. It's been years and I have my moments, but I've had the blessing of having a great support system.
One thing I wanted to ask, because especially now that we're talking about your support system,
yeah,
what was that process for you of like, I came out, especially coming from the family to here to now that they are there to support?
So yeah, I never had a bad coming out experience. If this is what you're asking, in part, my dad had already passed away. My mom, I came out to her, and within the hour, she was just like, I need to meet the man who you said was Christina, who's actually named Chris, because you're the only thing that I have in my life. And if you're the one thing in my life, he needs to be a part of my life too. And so, my mom and I were probably cruising the same guys, within months.
Okay.
She was just amazing. And, her requirement was like, as long as I married a rich white boy, then she was like happy.
Yes, right.
Happy. So
I know what that looks like.
yeah, and then my support systems have been. I've been blessed to not have any bad experiences coming out.
And extended family and all of that.
Great. Everybody is great.
That's so awesome. Okay, well now I get it. Like that's great. I will tell you, I think it's superhuman, whether you had help or not, that you got through all of I just couldn't even imagine. I truly couldn't imagine it. So I don't know what you say to that besides you're amazing. Like,
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank
honestly.
Paul,
So
I was
yeah.
gonna, I was gonna say, you know, my kids will know this one day, but they really are the ones that save
Yeah.
me because you know, I would wake up and I would cry, but I only had 5 minutes to
Mm,
cry
mm,
because my room crying. That's how I woke up because I heard him crying in the crib. And so I had to put like my big boy pants on and go in there with a smile on my face. And so if it wasn't for that, you know, that healthy distraction of being a parent during grieving,
yeah.
um, it would be a much. I would have turned to something else. I would have turned to drugs or drinking or whatever. Who
Yeah.
knows?
We we didn't do surrogacy, we adopted. But
Awesome.
that process is like just like surrogacy, right? You never know. Things can go bad and wrong. And so um, I have never talked about this, but I will. So why not? Like I wrote about it for Gays with Kids, the whole process that we went through. But we matched. We then talked to her. Mm, There was red flags. So excited to have a kid. You just pass. And when we went there, we actually ended up. Sorry, before that, we talked to her for a few months. She then ended up having to like ask us. She wanted me. She found out we didn't that I owned this real estate company. And so she, and I don't know, in her mind, she thought, well, you own a real estate company, you can buy me a house. And so, like, the conversation switched very quickly of like, you buy me a house and then I'll give you this baby. So it just got really not great. So we had to obviously cut ties. It's legal and all those things. And then we got a call out of nowhere that she was in labor. And, and so we just had to like drop everything and go there. And we were in the NICU with the baby for like she was on methadone and stuff like that. So for I don't know 4 days, it was a long chunk of time. It seemed like forever. The mom actually left right after, like she gave birth, left, and then she was supposed to meet us at like 11:30 on a Monday, and at like 11:25, we got a call from the social worker at the hospital telling us like not to come. She's not going to show up and sign, and that we needed to essentially leave then because that meant that she was going to take her baby. So yeah, I like it was hot. That part was the hardest part that I dealt with, and uh, I wish I could feel it. Like I felt it, but I had to not feel it because my husband at the time really felt it, and we can't be just stuck here in this city we aren't part of. And so I just literally just packed everything up that I could, and on the way to the airport, called to try and like find a red eye flight to get home. Um, and yeah, I remember like you were saying, like you had that 5 minutes in the morning on that airplane ride. It was late. There was like 5 minutes where like everybody seemed to be sleeping, and that was like the 5 minutes I took to be like, okay, I'll feel it for like 5 minutes, and then after that, I was like, no, I can't do it anymore. But I would tell my son, and I can't wait to tell him more and more when he's early or when he's older, like he is the reason that I moved past it because we then got hooked up and it worked out perfect and what we wanted. But I like that's why it's like I think it's so amazing like you handled this. That's such a roller coaster of emotion. Like that's all I think about when I read your story, when I hear it, you say it now. Just like you have a kid. I mean, I remember getting that kid. Like that was a fun month. But after that month, I was like, now it's like this is real. So like you did that and this and then two more. I was like, I couldn't even. I don't. It's insane. So yes, you're just amazing.
Look, I mean, I think just with what you're speaking about and what I'm speaking about, it's there's this common thread in our community that really speaks to um, the children that we have were so wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So clear that the children that we have were really wanted, and we did whatever we could to get them here. It speaks to that very well. And so, you know, our kids are lucky. We're
Yeah,
lucky. Our
yeah,
kids are lucky.
for sure. So I want to know, how did you come up with all these quarantine ideas. Like if no one knows, you need to go follow this guy. This is like where this even started is your videos are
Thank you.
hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hilarious. How do you do this? And how do you get those kids
Yeah.
to do that?
My TikTok, it's not on my professional one, but my which is NYC gay dad. And it's just been I think some people are musicians. I'm not a musician. Some people are athletic. I'm not athletic. And if actually if we are gonna keep it real, it's that I haven't had sex in 66 days. Like this is the longest I've gone without sex since teenager. Like like for me, having sex is an outlet, or being intimate, not just sex. I mean, like
Mhm.
animal
Yeah,
sex,
yeah.
but like even just having like the intimacy to not have that, like that's what rejuvenates me to be a good dad. So like if my kids are starting to drive me a little bit crazy, I might want a nice little intimate moment with someone,
Mhm.
right? And then I come back and I'm like, yeah, I want to be super dad again. This hasn't happened. So I think for me, doing these videos on TikTok is that's been my creative outlet.
Got it.
I've been channeling my energy into
Mhm.
that, and then my kids are being 7 and the girls being 5. Just been having a blast doing them, and they all have their individual strengths. My kid likes doing the acting part. One of my daughters likes doing the
Mm.
duets, and then my other daughter just likes being more like a team player ensemble. So fun. It's been a lot of fun. One got 1 million
Yeah.
views, and it's been kind of insane and a lot of fun. I'm 44 on TikTok. It's insane.
And you do this like every single day.
Yeah, almost. It wasn't gonna be that. I was gonna
Yeah.
like maybe once or twice a week, but then it started really resonating. People started to connect with it because I usually surround it around like being in quarantine and the coronavirus and all that stuff. And so once I saw people were getting like joy out of it and smiling, and then I thought, good, well then maybe this is how I'm going to contribute. And I just started doing them daily today, which is my daughters and I are going to do Unforgettable, Nat King Cole and Natalie Cole. I think it's going to be sweet.
Oh my gosh. I mean I like go there and watch them. I watch them with my son. He laughs too. He's like finally at that age where he can realize that I'm a kid and they're a kid, like so I should relate to them. So he loves it when kids are doing anything that's silly in any kind of way. So with that being said, you have this huge successful event business with 3
Yeah.
and single. I have 1 kid. I also am married. I barely hang on to my businesses. Like, so how?
Uh, I don't know. It is hard. I am fortunate where I had an au pair, so that really helps out a
Yeah,
lot. And then I have a great number 2 on my team who keeps me afloat and keeps me organized.
that's good.
So she's always a couple with me, and I really genuinely love what I do. And it's hard, and but I don't know. I just somehow make
Yeah,
it work. I don't really have an answer other than I love what I do. I love my kids. One feeds the other. I would not be a good father if I didn't have the work. I didn't have these awesome kids to come home to.
yeah,
So I don't know. We've been rocking, rolling. I've had good press and really fortunate. The one thing I will say is sort of my secret sauce is I'm not I don't get cocky and I do my best to remain likable, right?
mm,
So that's just it. People can get cocky in this business and have big personalities. I don't do that. I don't get cocky, and I think that's kind of key. I think.
it's for sure. And obviously, it's working. I mean, I think you said it perfectly. A old boss that I had, one of my first. If you love what you do, the world will love you. And like you're right. Like if you love it, it's gonna work. It
Yeah.
always does. So before we go, because I always like to wrap up with a
Yeah.
question, is I would love to know, like going through everything that you've gone through, these now you have these kids, this family, the success. What would you want to tell your younger self, that little boy back in Massachusetts, if you could meet him today?
That's a great question. I would say just arrived somewhere, don't get comfortable. Don't get because I've had many moments in my life where I thought I finally arrived. I'm like meeting my husband, but then he got taken away from me. Certain successes that may not have happened that happened, but and then there's been a pivot or a change. And so once I figured out like don't get too comfortable where you are, and then I think you're good to go. So that's what my younger self is. Just when you think you've arrived, think
I
again.
love that. I love it so much. Jose, thank you so much for being with us. And before we sign out, how should people get in touch with you, follow you? Is it the, I'm assuming it's going to be the handle you mentioned earlier, but please let us know.
So if you guys want to follow my business, forms from Facebook, Instagram, my website's joserolonevents.com. And then all my handles are at Jose Rolón Events. But then if you want to follow me personally and my adventures as a single gay dad, you could go to NYC Gay Dad on Instagram, and then you could find some of these great videos, fun videos, stupid videos on TikTok.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for really being one of those beacons of light during everything that's going on and bringing some joy to everybody's day. Yeah, I'm so happy that we got to connect.
It's such a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm happy we connected.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week on In Your Mind. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of In Your Mind. I hope you guys loved Jose as much as I did. I cannot get over his beautiful, amazing story, everything that he's doing, and that he can still, in the midst of everything going on, bring us such amazing positivity. So I continue to have amazing guests just like Jose. So make sure to tune in every week, Wednesdays. And don't forget, like, share, rate, follow, subscribe, everything you can. Help us get the word out. We cannot wait to see you next week.